Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I would like to share my thoughts on Star Ocean: The Second Story R, which is a remake of the PlayStation 1 classic Star Ocean: The Second Story, which originally released in 1998. However, 10 years later, in 2008, it was actually remade on the PSP as Star Ocean Second Evolution, which added all sorts of quality of life improvements, updated graphics, updated character artwork, and even voice acting for all the cutscenes and important private actions, which the original game had voice acting, but just for the battles. You know, the characters would call out their attack names and grunt, and then have a victory speech at the end after the battle was over. But the PSP version added not just Japanese voice acting, but an English dub as well. Now, fast forward a little bit to just this past year, 2023, we received, in my opinion, the definitive version to play with Star Ocean: The Second Story R. And what I love about this game so much is it keeps the integrity of the original Star Ocean: The Second Story, but it modernizes it with the HD 2D art style that I've grown to love so much. You know, Octopath Traveler, as far as I can tell, is the first game to really utilize the HD 2D art style, and if I'm mistaken with that, it's the first game to popularize it, and Square Enix has really run with that, making a sequel to Octopath Traveler 2, Triangle Strategy, the Live Alive remake, and soon enough, not just the Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake, but also Dragon Quest 1 and 2, which I'm really looking forward to. But, yeah, where to begin here? You know, Star Ocean has sort of been, I kind of want to say, a hidden gem, honestly. For as much as, you know, Second Story gets hyped up, the original PlayStation version, and this game, when it was released, people were hyping it up as well. It's sort of like an underrated, under-the-radar type game where it does have a cult following, but it's not as beloved as, say, a Final Fantasy. And I know it's not really technically a Square Enix property. It's published by Square Enix, but the original games were all developed by Tri-Ace. And they sort of have a mixed reception. Like, people either love these games or they hate them. I know that with the Divine Force. When the Divine Force released back in 2022, I'm one of the people, that was my favorite game of 2022, and then I see other reviewers say, oh, it's got like PlayStation 2 graphics. That's what makes it so good! What don't you understand? But with the release of this now, all 6 mainline Star Ocean games are readily available. The first Star Ocean game, which originally released on the Super Nintendo, got re-released on the PSP as well, and is on all the digital stores. You know, this game is brand new, so it's easy enough to find. The third game, Till the End of Time, fourth game, Last Hope, and fifth game, Integrity and Faithlessness. They're all available on PC, some of which got re-released on the PS4 and PS5, and then Divine Force, that's from 2022 as well. So it's really easy to dive into the series now, and what makes it so good is that you don't have to play the first Star Ocean game before you play Star Ocean 2, or you gotta play all 5 Star Ocean games before playing Star Ocean 6, the Divine Force. They're all standalone stories that are sort of interconnected with the cameos and references. You know, Ronix Kenny, that's Claude Kenny, the main character of this game, or one of the main characters, I should say, is a character in the first Star Ocean game, and he appears again here in Star Ocean: The Divine Force. There's another character named Mariel L. Kenny, which is kind of a connection to Claude and Reyna here. If you play the game, maybe you'll understand that more. But yeah, her last name is Kenny, just like Claude C. Kenny. And there's another Kenny character from Star Ocean 5. I think there's a Kenny in every Star Ocean game, if I'm not mistaken. So, cool little Easter eggs like that. Maybe that's minor spoilers for the other games, but as far as this game goes, we're going to keep the beginning spoiler-free, just going through the slideshow here. And then I'll let you know when I get to the spoiler warning, talking about the ending and stuff. But, great cast of characters here. You see Claude and Reyna right in the center. This game and the Divine Force, as far as I can tell, are the only Star Ocean games where you can select your protagonist at the start of the game. And while the story is the same, you get a different perspective and you're able to recruit different characters. So, in this case, Claude is the off-worlder from the Pan-Galactic Federation, and he ends up crash landing on Expel, the underdeveloped planet, which Claude's from Earth, by the way. But he ends up on the underdeveloped planets with Reyna, and there's a code there where, you know, you're not supposed to tell them that technology, but they gotta team up and save the world anyway. And in this case, not just the world, the universe. And depending on who you choose, in Claude's case, Claude and Reyna are always in the party, but you can make a party of 8 characters, no more. Maybe you can take less, but you definitely want to have a full party. And in Claude's case, Leon is exclusive to him, and then Reyna has Diaz, who's exclusive to her. And I like how they did that, because Claude is, you know, a melee fighter. He uses a sword, and Dion is a mage. And in Reyna's case, she's a mage as well, and then Diaz is a swordsman. Which Diaz, you know what? He is actually the OG Arios McLean. Not Ernest from E6, the Arca Nepishtim. Nope, it's Diaz. He's the OG Arios McLean. But you see some others here. In the middle, there's Opera. She's also an off-worlder as well. There's a couple other off-worlders. Opera, and there's an Ernest in this game. I mentioned Ernest from E6, but there's also Ernest here. And the game sort of works in that if you recruit one character, you sort of lock the other character out. So if you want to recruit Opera, you can't recruit Ashton. And if you recruit Opera, you're sort of tied into recruiting Ernest as well, because it's, you know, their love interest or whatever. Then later on, you get the choice between Bowman and Priestess, and so on and so forth. So I think there's like 15 or 16 characters in all, and it definitely makes it worthwhile to play through the game twice. I mentioned before the beautiful HD 2D art style, where you see like the pixel sprites of the characters, and the backgrounds are just so detailed. It's like you get to this one place with this forest, all these flowers. It's so good. I love it. To me, this is one of the best looking games I've ever played. Like, it's just so good. All sorts of mini games and collectibles, and just so many fun side quests to do. You know, if you're breezing through the game, you can probably beat it in 30 hours or so. But if you take your time, do all the side quests, do all the private actions, it's going to get you close to 40 hours. So you unlock fishing, and as they always say, it's not really a JRPG unless there's fishing. Like, okay, there's great JRPGs without fishing, but to me, a fishing minigame really makes a JRPG. And I gotta say it, if you don't like fishing minigames, like, you're not a real JRPG fan. You gotta hit the road, Jack. But you meet this cute little girl named Rio. And if you give her a fish, you can get cool items, some of which you can even unlock old heroes to add to your assault formation, which in one of the first dungeons you unlock Leticia from Star Ocean 6, of course, the Divine Force. Raymond from Star Ocean 6, the Divine Force, also appears. There is Edge from Star Ocean 4, Roddick from, I think, Star Ocean 1, Fate from Star Ocean 3, Fidel from Star Ocean 5. We don't really like to talk about Star Ocean 5 much, but he's there. And you can also put your reserve party members there. So your main party, you're going to have 4 members, and whoever's not there, you can put in the assault formation. I always had the OG heroes in there just because, you know, they're the OGs. And let me tell you, Raymond's attack, oh my god, it always did a ton of damage. So he was always in the assault formation. There's Ronix, like I mentioned before. And again, the beautiful character artwork where all the major characters who show up in the game, once they're speaking, they have not just, you know, the image there, but their mouth moves as they're talking. Their eyes blink, and they have different expressions. Like, you'll have the blushed face, you'll have the sad face, crying face, the serious expression, etc., etc. Welsh appears in this game. Now, Welsh was not in the original Star Ocean: The Second Story on the PlayStation 1. I think Welsh's first appearance was in Star Ocean 3 till the end of time, and because this game, as Second Evolution, you know, was re-released, remade on the PSP after Star Ocean 3, they decided to add Welsh, and, you know, just great stuff right there. There's a private action with Bowman where we go to the city here. He says, "Feel free to call me a dirty old man, but I'm checking out the girls walking by." What a legend! Which there's a whole side quest, which I recruited Bowman with Claude, just have the bros hanging out. And there's a whole side quest where you run into Celine, and she has all these different pictures of men that her father picked out for her to marry. And Claude sees one of the pictures. It's Bowman. He's like, wait a minute, why is Bowman here? Doesn't he have a wife? It's just such a funny gag. I love it, man. Which the voice acting in this game, okay, I probably should have mentioned that earlier, but the voice acting, you have 3 options, believe it or not. You can use the original Japanese audio from Star Ocean Second Evolution, the PSP game, a redubbed Japanese audio just for this game, the 2023 Second Story R, or the Second Evolution English dub, which I have to say, man, is pretty underrated. You have Spike Spencer as Claude, which Spike Spencer, most famous as Shinji from the Evangelion series, and there's a moment in this game that, dude, it was Shinji. It totally was. Eden Regal as Reina, which this is actually Eden Regal's second role ever. I mean, that's just crazy. And Eden Regal goes on to voice Estelice in Tales of Vesperia, Duval Lee in the Trail series, among so many other characters in video games, anime series. It's just so great to hear her again. Doug Erholtz, who voices Bowman. Melissa Fawn voices Welch. Who else is in there? David Lodge. Even Troy Baker is in this game as one of the villains later on. And, yeah, Peter Doyle was another name that caught me by surprise because he's most famous as Dominic in Eureka 7. And it's just such a mid-2000s English dub that I loved. And I remember when this game first came out, like, people were trashing the English dub, saying it wasn't that good. It's like, no, this is peak mid-2000s English dub, and it's good. You either know or you don't know, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's lots of fun moments in the game, like right here, you come across the Guardian. Like, I just love the dialogue of the game. Oh yeah, Richard Epcar, too. He voices a couple of the villains, and I think he even voiced the Guardian here. But yeah, that's right. And you'll need more than some flashy hocus pocus to get past me. Like, just the goofy dialogue. I love it, man. But some more side quests. You end up going to a place called Fun City, and this is basically minigame city. There's a cooking minigame, there's the bunny races, there's the tournament where you can go grind, get a ton of experience. With Star Ocean, you can really break the game in any Star Ocean game with experience multipliers. There's an ability that lowers your strength and defense, but gives you, like, well, at the beginning it's 20% experience, but you can keep increasing it and get up to 100%, you know, experience points per each battle. Later on, you unlock the bodyguard ability. So in the overworld, the enemies appear on the overworld and you walk into them for a battle, but they have different colors. There's red enemies, which are higher than your current level, purple, which are, you know, standard enemies, and then green, which means you're over level. And once you unlock the bodyguard ability, if you just walk into green enemies, you'll not only defeat them, but you'll gain the experience, money, and everything else you need. So the game is great with grinding. You can break it really early. You can get an item called the Goodie Box, which gives you 3 randomly generated items, and you can make a save file and just keep reloading that until you get an overpowered weapon early on, which I did. You better believe I did. And this weapon I got for Claude gave me like 1,000 extra attack points, which at that point in the game, when you go to the next town and buy the next weapon, you get like plus 50. And I got plus 1,000 early on. So it's just fun stuff like that to break the game. There's the bunny, which the bunny is the mascot of the Star Ocean series, kind of like the Chocobo. Like, you do just goofy stuff like this, the bunny racing. Like, come on, man. The Scummies, which they're a recurring villain too, but here they are putting on a show. Or the Scummy Rangers. Like, look how goofy it is, man. Oh my god. This was a bonding event with Leon, the little kid. He was watching this, and Claude was like, oh brother, do I have to stay there and watch this whole thing? The thieving scum. Here's an example of the experience. Like, you can manipulate it so much. 4 million experience. Like, come on, man. Look at this. Look how much experience points I got. And, the victory quotes. I love it. And the attacks, too, with Claude. There's this one attack where you know, he does the sword technique. And he goes, "Victory! Victory! How about this?" It's just so over the top. And then once he gets the level up, he says something like, "The power!" It's so awesome. But here's an instance when because Claude's voiced by Spike Spencer, I immediately thought of Evangelion and Shinji and Gendo, where there's Gendo's got his back turned. "You were always manipulating me, Dad. You just made me do whatever you wanted me to do." Like, that's totally Shinji and Gendo. And because it's the same voice actor, that's what I thought of. That's Claude sort of having an existential crisis. But, yeah, another cool thing of the game is based on the characters you recruit and your affinity level, you can get all these different endings. And the game says you can get 99 endings, which is true. However, they're just like 1-minute scenes between whichever characters you have them paired with. I played through the game twice as Claude, and then I speed ran it again with Reina just to get the Platinum Trophy because it was easy enough. And I did want to see the other scenes of Reina. So I just reloaded my save a bunch of times. There's an item to manipulate the affection levels. And I saw 67 of 99 endings. There's even some where Celine gets paired up with a prince from, one of the castles. There's a young girl who Ashton takes care of, which I thought that was really cool too. If you recruit Bowman, because he's the pharmacist, he's a doctor, he treats the young girl if he's in the party. But if you recruit Ashton's the one who heals the young girl and cures her from her illness. So really cool stuff there. There's 3 different endings between Claude and Reina, and really with all the pairings you can come up with, like Opera and Ernest and Diaz and Reina. There's different pairings where they're either romantic or just friendly. So I thought it was really nice. The time, you can see how far in advance I record these videos, by the way, but. Yeah, like I said, my first playthrough took me just under 40 hours, 38 hours, and then I played through it again. That was the one below it with the 49 hours. That was doing the post-game content. You unlock a Maze of Tribulations, a really difficult post-game dungeon. You fight the super bosses, and then the 56 hours. I was skipping the cutscenes I already saw, but like I said, there's different perspective to Reina's story where you see it from her point of view, and you get more background on her family. So anyway, here are the villains. I didn't really talk much about them, but they sort of show up at the halfway point in the game, and they're called the 10 Wise Men. I call them the 10 Wise Jobbers because there's a library in the second half of the game where you can read the background information on these characters, but overall, even reading the background information, they're kind of just evil for the sake of being evil. There's really no motivation behind it. They try to give them a little backstory. I'm not sure if that was in the original PlayStation game or even in the PSP version, or they did that for, the second remake here, but yeah, I thought they were kind of underwhelming. Really cool designs, great voice acting. Like I said, Troy Baker, he voices one of the characters here. The main villain, Gabriel, is voiced by Richard Epcar. But they're all named after, like, archangels, so they have crazy names like that. And one of them looks like, here's a better image of the character art. One of them looks like RoboCop, all the way to the right there. But yeah, the 10 Wise Jobbers, which some of them are pretty difficult boss fights, so. But they got cool designs. One more thing I wanted to mention is the excellent OST from the legend, Motoi Sakuraba, who not only did the original OST in Star Ocean: The Second Story, but the arranged version in the remake here, which both versions were excellent. I found myself switching often between them as I went to each new area, and it's just so good. And Motoi Sakuraba is honestly one of the unsung heroes of composers in video games, because, everyone knows Nobuo Uematsu and Yoko Shimomura and Yasunori Mitsuda, but Motoi Sakuraba just flies under the radar. I mean, he's done all the OSTs for every single Star Ocean game, pretty much every single Tales of game, Dark Souls. He has his own band and puts out CDs. I mean, he's a legend. You gotta put some respect on Motoi Sakuraba, so we gotta add this into the video, of course. So yeah, I think I said all I needed to say for my spoiler-free section. Maybe I spoiled some stuff, but, I gotta talk about the game somehow. So I'd like to just give you the spoiler warning now to talk about some other things, including more of the endings and details and some of the other post-game stuff, because, as I mentioned, the 10 Wise Men are kind of lackluster in the main story. There's like a private action that unlocks after beating the game, where you learn more. You learn like the true identity of Gabriel. So they lock that behind. And even still, learn the true identity, it's still like, these villains kind of suck, honestly. But the game is still fun, I will say. I strongly recommend this game. It's so much fun to play. The English dub I thought was great. The character interactions, the way you can make your party however you want it to be. It's great. So strongly recommend. But for now, the spoiler warning for the ending of the game. So at the second half there, once they end up fighting the 10 Wise Men, Ronix is making his way to Energy Need, which Need is actually Reyna's home planet, but now it's turned into Energy Need. It's not even like a real planet. It's just sucking up all the other planets. And that was another thing too. They destroyed Expel. They destroyed the planet Expel, but the main guy, what was he? The mayor of Need. Somehow they were able to bring Expel back, but they didn't bring Ronix back, so I'm kind of confused about that. I don't even know how that happened. But the second in command behind Gabriel, Lucifer, he destroys Ronix's ship. And Lucifer's voice actor was great too, like this line in particular. "Welcome, insects. You're late, We've waited a long time for you." I'm trying to do the voice as good as I could. But one of his attacks, he's like, "I wish you could have entertained me a little longer." Like, he's just going ham with the voice acting. I loved it. There's Gabriel. "Let's enjoy it together. We'll begin this prelude to Armageddon." So, and then after you defeat him, he's like, "If I can't rule the universe, I'll destroy the universe." It's like, what the hell? And Claude, "We're gonna take you down for the sake of the galaxy and avenge my father." And I mentioned before, the characters' portraits all sort of change as they're talking. Like, I don't think you saw that before of Claude and the sword, but he just looks like a complete badass. Absolutely loved it. That's the post-game dungeon. I probably should have mentioned that in the non-spoiler section, but yeah, that's the post-game dungeon. And there's this woman, Philia. You actually meet her early in the game where she's trying to warn the villagers to leave the port town because she senses an imminent threat. And then there's a big tsunami and the town gets destroyed. And then we never see her again. But after you beat the game, you reload your save, you unlock this private action where you talk to her, and you learn that her father is Dr. Lantis, who is actually Gabriel. And it's like, what the hell? It's just crazy. So they call him, Dr. Lantis here, and then he sacrifices Philia and turns her into an angel. I don't even know what the hell happened. It was a little strange, but it is what it is. So the ending I got, because I maxed out the affinity with Claude and Reyna, because why wouldn't I? They're talking on the ship here, and you see Reyna. Do I have to spell it out for you? By the time you get back, you're going to be a father. So, oh yeah, Claude, he got Reyna, and he's having a kid, which he kept his bloodline going for all the other games, with Mario appearing in, the Divine Force. And she has blue hair, by the way, huh? Yeah, Reyna's got blue hair, so all those years later. And after you beat the game, so beating it with Claude, you get the yellow star to the left, and then after you beat the game again with Reyna, you get the blue star. And the way I was able to go through Reyna's story so quickly in the second half, I skipped the cutscenes I already saw, and with New Game Plus, you carry over your levels. So the maximum level in Star Ocean is 255 in all the Star Ocean games. And by the time I was done, I think it was like level 120 or something. So the game was relatively easy for me. I played on normal difficulty, but, still a lot of fun. Like I said, I got the Platinum Trophy. Look at that, baby. And, yeah. So, strongly recommend this game. I absolutely loved it. What more can I even say? I went almost 25 minutes talking about how much I loved it. And I hope you guys check it out, too. If you're wondering, where to start the Star Ocean series, I'd say start here. But if you want, for consistency's sake, start with the First Departure. That's the remake of the original Star Ocean, available on the Switch, PS4 and PS5, PC, and maybe Xbox. I'm not entirely sure. There's this game, of course, which just came out. 3, 4, and 5 are all either on the PS4, PS5, PC, and then back in the day, one of them was on the PS3, one was on the Xbox 360, and then the Divine Force came out in 2022, so that's relatively recent as well. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Everybody have a great day, and peace out.
99.